Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Smokin with Scotty. I'd like to say a huge thank you to the folks over at Burley Meats. They're the new sponsor here, and so we're super excited to be teamed up with them. One of the great things about Burley Meats is they locally source their beef from local ranchers, which is amazing, and then they process it in their own facility, and they will do any kind of custom cuts you want, whatever you're looking for. They even do cuts of meat for Hispanic cuisine, everything and anything you can get from Burley Meats. So be sure you stop by Burley Meats, check those guys out. They're going to be opening up here in a new space very soon, and today we are ready to go with short ribs. We got our short ribs from Burley Meats, and as you can see, they got a lot of fat running through these. These are going to be tender, they're going to be juicy, and they're going to be excellent. Now, short ribs, we're going to do these two different ways. We have the ribs that are sliced sideways, and then we have the full rack here. As you can see on the bottom side here, this is a 3-rib rack. So we're just going to cook this up on the smoker just like this, and then they actually slice them across the bones. And you can see the bones still in there, and these are going to render out some really, really good meat as well. So we're going to do these two different ways. First thing that we're going to do, I got to do some trimming. I'm going to trim the fat off the top. We want to get all this fat right off the top, and I'm just going to start by sliding underneath just like that. And then we're going to come out, and we're going to peel this back just a little. I'm going to try to make sure that we don't get any of that meat in there. We don't want any meat. We just want to pull the fat off so that we can get our rub on there. And that rub's going to get down in that meat and give us a really nice seasoning so we get some really good flavor on our ribs. So as you can see, this is going to take just a minute or two. So give us a second. We'll be right back. All right, here we are. We've got the short ribs. They're trimmed and ready to go. You can see I took the layer of fat right off the top. Try to get all that silver skin off. You want to get that off so that we can get some penetration of our rub into our meat. And you can see, look at the fat content of these short ribs. That's what's going to make these things super tender and juicy, because we're going to cook these until all of that fat starts to render out right into the meat. We're looking forward to that. So now it's time to get these seasoned up, and we are going to be using Meat Church, the Holy Gospel. All right, this is a rub that we got from Burley Meats. I tried it out the other day on some venison. It does a really, really good job. So we'll start here with our cross-section short ribs. Just make sure we get a nice good coat, because what we want to do is we want to build up a nice bark. And we get a nice coat of rub on there, and that's going to do that for us. So this already has some salt in it, so I'm not going to pre-salt my meat as I normally do. I tried it out, and the salt ratio in the meat is good enough. So we'll get these all flipped over. And we'll get some seasoning on the other side. And then we're going to let these set for about a half hour while I go out and get the smoker all fired up. And you can buy this rub and several others at Burley Meats. They got a really nice selection. Look at all that fat. That almost looks like Wagyu beef. All right, so those are covered really well. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get some rub on our big old rib cage here. Just want to make sure we get that all uneven. And I know this is going to give us a really nice color. Also, another thing you want to do, make sure you get the sides all covered up as well. Because again, that's going to give us more of that bark, and we all know that bark is what tastes good. Now, we're not going to season the back side, because short ribs have a big old thick membrane on there, so we wouldn't get any penetration anyway. And so there we go. We're going to let those set for about a half hour while I get the pit fired up, and we're going to be cooking at 275 today. We'll see you out at the smoker. All right, here we are. We've got our smoker, our Green Mountain Grill from Nature Nursery and Market. It is up to temp. We're going to be cooking at 275 degrees today, and the reason we're going to do that is because we want to build up a nice bark. When you're doing spare ribs, it's all about the bark and then, of course, the internal temperature. So we're not going to be worrying about the internal temperature exactly right now. what we want to do is we want to get a really good color on this short rib, and then we're going to wrap that, and we're going to bring it up to our internal temperature of about 202, or when we can get a probe to slide in without any resistance. That's what we're really after, that tenderness on these short ribs. So here we go. Let's get the smoker going. And I'm gonna set these right here. And then we're gonna go with our cross-section short ribs. And then we're gonna be checking on these periodically to make sure where we're at. I've honestly never cooked short ribs like this before, these short cross-section. So this will be a little bit of an experiment for us. I'm looking forward to that. Put that one there. And this bad boy's gonna go right there. So there you go. We're gonna go ahead and come back and we're gonna check these out here in about 2 hours, see where we're at color-wise, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I broke one of my general rules. If you're looking, you're not cooking, they say, but I have never done these cross rib sections like this before. So I just kind of wanted to take a peek and see where we're at, and we're ready to go. So here we are, our cross ribs. Look, you can see you got a really nice bark, and they are super tender. So it's time to pull these bad boys. Alrighty. Oh, these look good. I can't wait to bite into these. And they're nice and tender. Like I can hardly get them to stay on the fork there. Since we're cooking at 275, these, like I said, is about an hour and 15 minutes on these so far. So we're gonna take these, we're gonna let them rest for a little bit, and then we are going to give them a try and see how they are. Look at that, they're just falling apart already. And then so I'm just gonna kind of move these right over to the center. And you can see we're starting to get a little bit of pullback. That's what we're looking for. So we're gonna give these a little probably about another 45 minutes to check them out. But you can see we're starting to develop some really nice color. We got moisture on top, so I'm not gonna worry about spritzing just yet. If we get to our color and they're looking dry, I will start spritzing just a little bit. So we'll go back and we'll check back in as we put our mouths on these bad boys. We'll be back in a little bit. Here you can see we've got them in and ready to go. We'll make a mention, the thinner ones, they got a little bit drier than the other ones, but as you can see, these are perfect and ready to go. We tried them out. Absolutely delicious. I gotta say that Meat Church rub does a really good job. Look at the color it puts on those. So there you go. Cross-section short ribs. And I think I would have gone maybe about 10 minutes shorter on checking those, but here we are. It's my first go with cross-section short ribs. All right, so here we go. We're back out here. It's been 2 hours since our short ribs have been on. So take a little peek here. Looks like we're nice and still and moist. So that's good. And getting a little bit of pullback. So I think we're gonna be good. We're gonna go ahead and leave them. I'm not gonna spritz just yet. So we'll go back and check them here in about an hour. Okay, so here we are. It's been another hour. We're going to check on our cook and see where we're at. Everything's looking still pretty moist and nice. Nice pullback. Pull back there. Looks even. I'm not going to flip it or turn it. I think we're going to go ahead and give this another 45 minutes and see where we're at as far as color. I think at this point I do want to put in a temperature probe just to make sure where we're at there. And yeah, we'll check back in about another 45 minutes. Well, here we are. We're back out at the smoker. Our short ribs have reached 202 degrees internal temperature. So I'm going to take a skewer here and we're going to give them a little probe for tenderness. Yeah. It just goes in like butter. All right, so I guess we're ready to pull these bad boys. And look at that. My tongue's out, and we're going to go ahead. Look at that. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and rest these for about an hour, and I'll show you how we're going to tent them up inside. All right, here we are. We've got our short ribs. We're going to tint them up, and then we're going to let them have a rest for about an hour, so all of those juices will go back in the meat. So here's exactly what I'm going to do tonight. Oil. I'm just going to leave them right there on the pan. And we'll take another sheet. We'll put that here. Put that over there. So nice and secure that way. And then we're just going to put them in the oven. I got my oven preheated to about 120. We're just going to let them set up in there for about an hour. So we'll check out and see what happens here in just a few. Man, I have got to tell you, I've absolutely had a blast with this cook. One of the things I want to emphasize is cooking by temperature and feel and not by time. A lot of times you'll see these barbecue recipes, they'll give you tips on how to do it, and they'll say, oh, this such and such temp for such and such time. That doesn't work. You start out with your basic temp, you watch your internal temperature of your meat, and because, you know, like this cook, not every piece of meat's the same, man. So I've seen cooks with short ribs go 6 hours. We're done in about 3.5. So it really has to, you know, go by your own piece of meat and just the skills that you're acquiring as a barbecue pit master. This cook was a lot of fun. It kind of threw me for a loop. I was expecting a longer cook, so once we got the color we wanted, I put my temp probe in, and I was about 195 degrees. So I went ahead and just left it uncovered, and we ended up at 202. Did my probe test. It was perfect and ready to go. So yeah, just a lot of fun. So let's cut into these and see what we got going on here. And I always cut them from the back. That way you can see where your ribs are. There we go. And the reason you want to leave the membrane on, because you see how it keeps this meat together. Elsewise, we're kind of falling off the bone a little bit. And there's where we're at. And yeah, she's got plenty, and it's just absolutely super tender. So I'm looking really forward to it. It's going to be great. Here's the old big dino bone. You can see all the fats rendered out. Good to go. And so it's time for my favorite part. All the fats rendered out. Meat's super tender, super juicy. That meat church rub really does a good job on that bark, and you get that texture as you're coming through into that soft, juicy meat. Absolutely wonderful. I highly recommend you try short ribs out. And a big thanks to Burley Meat. Those guys, I've had quite a bit of meat from them now, and everything has been super high quality. I'm super impressed with it. And if I say super one more time, I might turn into Superman. But anyway, Burley Meats, thank you guys so much. Do yourself a favor, get in there, get yourself something from Burley Meats. They do a great job. And this rub, it's really good stuff. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate that, and I'd love to hear from you if you've got some questions or comments. And that is episode number 1, or excuse me, episode number 1 of season 2. We'll see you later. All right, this is my daughter Abby. She's got the rib. What do you think?
I think it's huge.
All right, give it a taste.
Ooh, that's good.
That thing's huge.
It's delicious. I know, and then my bite's just tiny.